Glad you have. So now let's talk a little bit more about Sattva Guna, or the mode of goodness. Sattva Guna really reveals the true self of human beings. Sattva literally means true essence. And when we are inspired by Sattva Guna, then we become peaceful and joyful in life. Right? We feel our life has purpose, and we love what we do because that's how we express ourselves in the world. We don't have to prove anything to others. We are not, afraid of failing. No, we simply act out of inspiration, okay? And we love what we do, and we keep doing what we love. If we are motivated by the other modes, we might only do something for a certain time until it fulfills a certain need. But then once that need is fulfilled, we might actually stop it. But when we are motivated by the mode of goodness, then we will always keep doing what we do. And that's why it provides so much stability in our life, right? Because if you do something that represents who you are, then that's what you're gonna do, right? So that's why whenever or if you feel instability in your life, fear that something might stop, right? If there's a sense of immoral behavior or irresponsibility, that is all because of these other two modes of living our life, right? But the best mode that we can actually live in, which gives peace, which reveals who we are, which provides stability, this is actually the mode of goodness, right? So now let's try and understand a little bit more about these modes of nature and how they work. So let's say, let's start with the mode of passion, okay? So let's say a girl is married to a guy, and she really wants to dress well, she wants to buy all these beautiful clothes, and she wants a guy that makes a lot of money, perhaps has his own business, so that they can have a home and they can start with their family life. So she meets one, and it all starts really well. They have their first kid, and everything seems to go well, because she gets all these things, and so she's happy, right? Now, one day, the husband comes home and he confesses that, his business hasn't been good for quite some time, actually, but he kind of feared about telling her because he already knew that, she really needs so many things that he can provide for her. And that was maybe not such a good idea to tell her, because she decided to separate from him because, there's just a certain lifestyle that he needed to provide for her, and since that is not possible anymore, so then, he is not anymore right for her. Okay, so now let's say that, okay, she actually divorced a guy, and after some time now she found another one, right? But this time she's a bit smarter. She's gonna, she found actually a guy who, works in a stable government job. So now there's no problem anymore with financial issues, because this is a very stable job that this person has, right? But now what seems to be the problem is that the guy doesn't seem to be that reliable. And she fears actually that he actually has a mistress, okay? And so now she gets really into those lower modes of living, right? She becomes really paranoid and really obsessed about monitoring him and checking his messages on the phone, and she easily just gets angry, and their marriage turns really sour now, okay? But he was always telling her, no, I really love you, everything's great. But then one day, she catches him because she read a message from his mistress, and of course, the There's nothing that the guy can do, to kind of explain the situation. It is pretty obvious that he has had a mistress for a while, okay? And, all of her anger and hatred just came out of that situation, and she's very unforgiving and very decisive that, look, we don't need to talk anymore. This is all very clear. You don't love me. And, let's just separate again. I'm done with you. And now she's again single, okay? So now after these two failed marriages, one which was sort of based on Rajagun, or just, trying to live a life just based on what sort of the external world can provide, and what it is meant to do so that I can be happy. And the other lifestyle is, which is based on, Tamagun, which is really based on some very bad feelings, negative feelings, hatred, paranoia, perhaps depression, fear. Now, she is thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe I should read a book on Eastern philosophy, maybe there's a solution to this, why is it that I get always sort of into these relationships that don't work, there must be a solution to this. And so then she reads this book on Eastern philosophy, and it talks about the three modes of nature there, right? It talks about that the mode of passion is really useful, and that we all need to have a healthy amount of passion in our life to fulfill our desires, to create, material security, and to have a comfortable life here. And it also says even the mode of goodness is useful, right? Because we need to learn to consciously confront our fears and all these other negative emotions that we have, so that we can actually be happy, right? As long as we live with them, they're just gonna be there. So we need to learn to actually release them. And so the mode of ignorance really helps us to become conscious of what we tend to be ignorant, okay? And so that then those things, we don't carry them around anymore, and we can actually finally be lighthearted and happy in life when we are able to deal with all these problems properly, okay? But then it also tells us, or that book tells her, well, how are you gonna do all this? It sounds all too good to be true that this is kind of possible. Well, for that, the mode of goodness is what we need to cultivate, right? The mode of goodness is basically a key for getting through all these ups and downs in our life, and to be able to be our best version, because then we can really also offer the best to the people we love, and then we can have harmonious relationships, right? And it is the mode of goodness that allows us to create peace and stability in our life. Why? Because our life actually becomes a reflection of our true abundant self, okay? So now, the Sattvic signs are actually the signs of the Sun and Moon, which are Leo and Cancer, and also the signs of Jupiter, that are Sagittarius and Pisces, right? The Sun, Moon, and Jupiter are actually Sattvic planets, and their signs are also Sattvic. Now, this is not always the case. Sometimes, a planet might be in one guna, but then the sign in another guna. So Leo is the kingdom that we create as a reflection of who we are, right? Leo is Sattvic because it is a manifestation of ourself in the world. We have a vision for what we can do. We are inspired to make it happen. And Leo is fixed, and that creates stability and the responsibility that we need to build our kingdom over the long term, okay? And for a healthy Leo sign, that is all not a problem. They know that the good things, they all take time, but they are sure to come, right? Because Leo gives us a lot of self-confidence. Sagittarius is the other sattvic sign that gives us a sense of purpose, right? I'm here for a higher reason every day. I'm here to learn more about myself, about life. And Sagittarius allows us to see life as an adventure of co-creating with the universe and fulfilling our role here to do something good, okay? And for Sagittarius, life is really an adventure. Whatever comes, it's all good because it will take me where I need to go, okay? Cancer is the other sattvic sign, right? We have feelings that are truthful, that are beautiful, that inspire us to give our love and attention to others. Those feelings, of course, also prompt us to do something because if we have good feelings, then we want to act on them, right? And Cancer especially wants to connect with life around, right? They want to express those feelings through actions, right? And of course, Cancer is very much able to have those feelings of oneness with the environment, right? Through their feelings, right? They can very much connect and feel this oneness with the people that they're with and the people that they love. And that's why Cancer also, likes to take pictures to capture those memorable moments where they felt so connected, because they have the strong ability to connect. And when they look at the picture, then they can experience or relive that moment again. Now, Pisces is what allows for that connection to just go deeper and deeper, right? There's no limit to how deep love can go in the ocean of Pisces. That's why Pisces is also the sign of charity and generosity, right? Pisces feels a lot of satisfaction when they actually can help others, right? With Pisces, we feel that deep connection with other living entities, especially when we can support them, okay? And so people who work as counselors, when they have a good Jupiter and Pisces, then they really have that, intuition and wisdom to understand why people suffer. And they have, of course, the right intention and the kind heart to help them, okay? A good Mercury in Virgo, of course, they are helpful for figuring out exactly what is wrong with people, right? They can, Mercury in Virgo really allows us, gives us sort of the intelligence to really analyze the situation, and to come up with sort of a practical solution, okay? And and those sattvic signs, they are important when it really comes to our happiness, right? With the tamasic signs, we can get that happiness that comes from overcoming problems. With rajasic signs, we get some pleasure from, fulfilling our desires and having material comfort. But it's the sattvic signs that give us that peace and contentment anytime. And it just depends on how much we're able to live from moment to moment, right? How much are we able to work on our projects and be busy, but every so often we gather ourselves and take a deep breath and align ourselves with our higher presence of consciousness, right? So whenever we become aware of ourselves, then we can become grateful for our life, and again inspired in our long-term goals and commitments, right? And so the sattvic signs, they really play a big role actually in our ability to be happy and content in life, right? What greater motivating force is there than actually being content in life, right? If you're content in our marriage, wouldn't we be so inspired to show our love and try to do our best to be a good partner and make sure that every day, you know, our spouse knows how much we love them. It's those sattvic signs that allow us to accept our life as it is and to be really grateful for it.